8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Coming soon. Snake River Manufacturing is developing a revolutionary new way to design and build a custom kayak trailer. This modular design lets you customize your trailer one piece at a time, allowing you to grow as you go.
You know, a lot of folks think gorillas can't read. But when the magazine's this good, even I had to subscribe.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me for episode 56 of the Kayak Cafe. This episode is brought to you by Snake River Manufacturing. If you go to snakerivermanufacturing.us, you'll be able to see all of the trailers and items that Steve and his crew are putting together. They have some great stuff to get you to and from the water in style. And if you have another brand, they also have they have their own accessories that can be cross-fit to other brands. So give them a shout and tell them that USA Kayak Fishing Magazine and the Kayak Cafe sent you over to check them out. So this episode is also brought to you by Viking Kayaks USA. Go to vikingkayaksusa.com and check out all of their paddlecraft. They've got some great stuff over there. Go check them out. So, all right, this episode is quite a special one because the gentleman I have on is a plethora of knowledge. He's a great personality. I have been chatting with him for about a half an hour before the beginning of this, and it has flown by. So I can't imagine what we're going to get into. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Mr. Marty Hughes, aka Kayakjak.
Howdy,
Hello,
howdy.
Mr. Hughes, how are you?
I'm great, man. Living a dream.
Living the dream. I appreciate you coming on tonight and taking some time because I know your schedule is a lot, has tons of open space in it.
Oh, gosh. Guys, retirement is overrated.
Yeah. Retirement's just another Kickstart, huh?
Yeah. I am more busy now than when I was a principal.
Yes.
I mean, it's nuts. But it's fun, man. I just have a blast doing all this stuff.
Yes.
You know?
I will say, that's my dad right here. He'll attest to this. I spent a lot of time in the principal's office growing up, so I would like to say this is fun, but it's kind of scary. No.
Yeah.
Awesome. For those that don't know who you are, Mr. Hughes, give a rundown of who you are and what you do.
Well, yeah. My real name is Jack, and we can probably talk about that later with this other name, you know. But growing up, I got the fishing fever when my dad and his Navy buddies took me up to the high Sierras in California to Bishop, and I caught my first trout, and the drug was in the tug at that point. And in fact, I'm writing an article here coming out soon about that. And then, I think I look at it as being fortunate to have gone to as many schools as I did, 14 different schools before I graduated, 4 different high schools. And I ended up in Nebraska my senior year. And I went from really big schools to a really super small school to 20, like, I don't know how many, like it was in the hundreds in my class in California to 23 my senior year. So I saw a lot of different cultures, and it helped me adapt and get to know people quicker. You know, it was, and a lot of it was survival because you had to make friends or, you know what I mean? But anyway, so went to a lot of schools, and, I loved sports and I loved fishing. I fished all the time, every chance I could get, and makeshift stuff, because, when I was a kid, we were so poor, and so you just made stuff most of the time. And I remember one time I got a Navy life raft and pulled the cord out, the CO2 on it, and, and I took that out to a pond and fished in that, and before I put holes in it, but, and then, went to high school, graduated in Nebraska, and basically my legs paid for my college, and I wanted to get an education, and right when I got out, it was a choice of Air Force. I'd taken all that stuff to get ready for that. Thought about officers training school, and at the last second, was a teacher and coach at age 22. After I graduated, I went 5 years of college to get 2 majors back then, and I was a head football coach, head basketball, head track at age 22. So my leadership skills were honed quickly.
Yes.
and I will honestly say I'm a poor assistant coach. I like to run, runs. Not that I'm controlling or anything, but I just, you like to have, your thoughts out there working. But I worked
It's done right.
Yeah. So, and then I taught for 33 years, retired. And for some reason I got called to run a school. So like the superintendent guy. And then I did that for a couple of years, tried to retire again. Another school called and said, hey, we need some culture stuff down here done. And so I said, I'll do it for 5 more. And so I 40 years of education and fished the whole, pretty much most of the time. But I was really into it in my late 30s up to now. And then retired. And now I'm busier than ever, writing for Bassmaster, for Kayak Adventure Series, my own stuff, sub a little bit, and I supervise student teachers for a college as an adjunct, and then I run an expo here, and so yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and my wife's fairly busy too, so
Probably just trying to find you.
No, actually, she has a lot of stuff she does. She's in the music world and she directs musicals, and that's what she's doing tonight. So,
yeah. So
yeah.
you said that your legs paid for college. I'm assuming you weren't a dancer.
I got a great story on that if you want to hear it.
Sure.
So, yeah, I wasn't a dancer. I loved football, but running actually got me through college. But as a senior, they needed one more body they called it swing choir. Now they call it show choir. And the girls in my class said, we need one more guy. And I said, I'm not that guy. I can't even sing. And they said, no, just go try out. So I go in front of this music teacher and I get done singing for him. And he just shakes his head like, oh my gosh, who is this kid? And the girls were looking behind the door there. And he goes, hey, just do this. He started modeling some dancing. And I followed him. He says, oh, you'll do. Just don't sing, just be in the group, and you get to miss school and go with us. I said, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, just lip sync.
So actually, I have a picture of it, and people didn't believe me at first, but I have a picture of me being in the swing choir, and I danced. But that's not what got me through college. So there you go. There's a good story.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm not a dancer. I like dancing. We do weddings, so I wait late into the evening when everyone's drunk, and then whatever you do at that point, you're just like you're a rock star because they don't know what's happening. They're like, look at him, he's moving. Yeah.
Now I was a wedding crasher in college. We did a lot of that stuff, so we had some food.
Oh yes.
On a weekend.
Yeah. Wedding crashers are always fun because they have no inhibition. They don't care what happens.
Yeah, and you just go around and say, "Oh yeah, I'm his cousin." Oh, that guy over there.
And then later in the evening, you really do become part of the family because they don't remember what's happening.
They don't know, yeah. So really, we did that, yeah.
So growing up in California, how was that? Like a fishing wise?
It was awesome, man. I would comb the beaches for stuff like squid would wash up or old fish or whatever, and I had this little raft, canvas raft, and I would drag it along, and I would collect all this stuff, and then I would take it home and dice it all up and freeze it for bait. And so that's what I used for saltwater bait. And then on the other side of the coin, I had bass ponds, like 5 miles from shore there that I could go to. And so I did both. And so in fact, here you go. I'm going to show you a picture. I always have there's me at age 15 in San Diego or Oceanside Harbor. And there's the fish.
Heck yeah.
And I would go on the deep sea boat for $8.50. And I got to get pretty good at it out there. They're cattle boats, but for $8, man, you go out there and fish deep sea. And then I'd get my bait out quick, a live anchovy, but everybody else had weights on their hooks, and I just relined it, and I get the biggest fish usually. And there was a jackpot for that. It was like $1. You put in $1, and I'd win a lot of those. Yeah. And so I won money that way. And then when I get back, there was a lot of Vietnamese refugees at that time coming in. and they would buy my fish at the harbor. And so I had enough money to go buy more stuff. I still have some of my rods from when I was a kid, my deep sea rods.
You had
And
like a strong little side hustle going there.
oh yeah, it was great. And then when I was on the boat, the deckhands would take me under their wing and show me stuff, you know. So I learned a lot about fishing that way. And then, be honest with you, I didn't know what a largemouth bass was because I didn't. Nobody took me fishing because my dad was in the Navy. He's always gone, and the ship. And I remember my first largemouth bass was on a treble hook with corn, and it was a big bass, but I didn't know what it was. And so I actually took it home and I said, guys, what is this thing? And so because they were fun to catch, man, at that point. And then I found out what lures were and I started using those, you know. And then I came to Nebraska and I was a big fly rod fanatic. So I fly fished for everything.
Oh, yes.
And I fly fished for bass, and I got pictures of that too, where I would have a fly rod and go out to ponds and throw a popper, you know. So mine's more, I don't know, mine was like I didn't have anybody to take me out and show me all this stuff. And I learned from, like, you know, you get the magazines and the Saturday shows and the one page flyers back then, and I made my own spinners and plastics and all that stuff, and you just liked to do it. You wanted to see if it'd work.
Right.
So, and then when I taught, though, teaching kind of overtook my life and coaching for quite a while, so I didn't go as much. But then later on, like I said, I got more involved in the fishing.
So was there a moment when it stopped being like a hobby? It became more of a profession or obsession?
It became an obsession, but it was a way to deal with life. I mean, because I did so much stuff and it just calmed me down. I would go out in the water, and of course, the way I started, everybody knows, like, I tell my story over and over again about how I started. I did not start kayak fishing for kayak fishing. I started with a kayak and paddling, and eventually went to kayak fishing because I saw these fish below me, and I'm like, I'm going to put my rod. And I didn't know anybody kayak fished, you know. And I had this sea otter back in 1997, and it was not very stable, but I wore a life jacket all the time. And I started taking my fishing rod out, and it was over after that. And then of course, I started reaching out on the internet and I found Chad Hoover. He's still in the Navy. I found Dennis Spike, Jim Salmons, Dean Thomas. I found all these guys way back when. D. Kaminsky. They were all kayak fishing at that time, you know, or had just started. You know, Jeff Little was out there. I bought some of his stuff. But Dennis Spike talked to me a lot, you know, out there. And I even flew out to California and did a trip with Jim Salmons and in deep sea in the kayak, and that was pretty fun, you know.
That's interesting because, like, around here in Virginia Beach, a lot of the guys you mentioned, you know, they're around here, and they're
Virginia was a big area of that. But it was like they had silos. Everybody was in a silo, and we didn't know what each other was doing. Only from, like, Dennis Spike had the first kayakfishing.com site in the country. And I got my website, and I think the early 2000s, you know, kayakjak.com. I just thought that'd be my site when I had that name, but we've had it ever since. We've changed providers and stuff, but all these guys that you met had their own thing going, so everybody had their own way of doing things, and it was a lot of DIY back then.
Oh yes,
especially I have a couple videos. One's on how to make a stern light, how to change a handle, and they've got tens of thousands of views because there was nothing else out there at the time, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's hearing about the heyday of the start of the kayak fishing community. I mean, do you feel? I think I know the answer. I mean, do you feel blessed to be around in that era? You know, with all of the.
Oh yeah, I feel grateful and blessed because I feel like God said, "Hey, this is something that's going to help a lot of people down the road." And I didn't know that at the time, but I started that guide service, and that's a whole other story too. And we were bringing people in that just they get out there and they had such stressful lives that when they get out there, they just wanted somebody to listen to them. And then when they got a fish, the number one word that I got from people was, "This is so relaxing." And they got away. And you know how, like, I played high school football, and you know, when you stepped in that grass, nothing else mattered in the world.
Right.
And that's kind of like kayak fishing. When you get out there in the water, you're one with the water with that kayak, and nothing else matters. And that's kind of what it was for them. You know, I met people from all over the country. I had people come from as far as the East Coast to go, because there wasn't very many guides out, remember, there.
Mhm.
And they saw me on the internet. They said, I'm going to go fish with that guy. And the other thing I had that I was fortunate is where I lived is a very prominent bird watching area, because the migrations go through there. A lot of your small exotic birds and stuff would go through there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a great bird watching site. So I did bird watching tours as well. But a lot of people would go there, and I had guys, they wanted to catch a fish like in every state or whatever, guys like that. And so they'd look me up, and I'd take them to get a certain species, you know, stuff like that. But we did one summer before I retired. Our record was 141 guided trips. And
Wow.
some of those were 2-a-days, you know, where we had a group in the morning, a group in the afternoon. We did Dutch oven cooking. We cooked over a fire for people. You name it, man. I've done all that stuff, and it wore me out, but it was so rewarding, you know, when we did that.
Yeah. I've often compared it to, I used to own a motorcycle, and when I would get on my motorcycle, it was just like you had to focus on the road so much that
Yeah.
everything else that's going on in life was just almost like tunneled down.
Yeah.
When you get on the kayak, it's not fast paced like the motorcycle, but it's the same feeling of like you can just breathe. You're out there by yourself, floating around. It's something everyone should experience, in my opinion. But so are you since you did the birding thing, are you also a photographer yourself? Do you take pictures of birds and stuff like that?
Yeah. That's all. You know, people do say, how do you get such good pictures? I said, I just take my phone out there and take pictures.
You're like, I clean my lens.
I've had lots of people come out with their big cameras. In Fisherman actually visited. That's a funny story. They came out with 3 guys, and they wanted to do a story on Nebraska. And so they came out, and they wanted me to catch a big bass, of course. Well, I caught a big bluegill. I caught a master angler bluegill. And so I had to dip it in the water like 200 times to get the right picture. Well, anyway, one of my friends was out there fishing, and he went by us with a dog in the back of his kayak. And about 20 yards away, he cooked into a master angler bass. And they were gone in an instant. They went over to him, got all kinds of pictures. His picture got in Fisherman magazine. So that was kind of cool, you know. And then
taking your 15 minutes from you.
Yeah, my 15 minutes, my 15 seconds of fame right there. No, it was all good. But what they did is they mentioned our guide service in Fisherman magazine, which is kind of cool, you know. But
that free publicity is always appreciated.
Yeah.
So as a military kid, how did that help you with adapting with new locations? Because I mean, you go from California to Nebraska, it's not the same fishing style. I mean, were you?
I didn't change much except for the saltwater part, you know. I had a fly rod, like I said, I used that a lot, and then I would just walk and go find ponds, and you know, and then there was a lot of people that found out I was fishing, and they'd say, hey, come fish our pond. And back then in Nebraska, I live about 22 miles from where I lived in the farm as a senior in another town. And a lot of the ponds back then had deep edges and were very clear with hydrilla. And now they're all silted in. They're like mud holes, but the bass are still there. So that style's different, you know, on it. But there's so many honey holes around, man. People, and that's what I like to do. Like I have one lake that's public that I walk almost a mile on a path to get to with my kayak, and nobody wants to go back there because it's too hard to get to. so
sometimes the effort's worth the reward.
Yeah.
So Stephen Kidd with KKOA wants to know, will you be at Kissimmee for Bassmaster? Actually,
I won't. Here's the deal, and I smile. I'm missing some teeth. I'm waiting for my teeth to come in, and it's like every 2 weeks I got to make sure I'm getting some new teeth. Let's put it that way, for implants. And then the other thing is I just wanted to I am really tired right now. So I'm going to do a lot more local stuff. And then I'm going to do the KBF, of course, and the 10. I'm doing the 10 and then I'm going to drive up to Virginia to see our son and go back. So that's one big trip. It's the thing is though, like what I found in the last couple of years is I do a lot of the big ones, but it would take up like 8 or 9 days, and I'd only get to fish 2 or 3. And so I want to do more just like fun fishing out there and stuff. Nothing against those events. I love doing. In fact, I'm writing their top baits articles, but I just needed a little break to do what I want to do for a while, you know. And you know what? I had nothing to prove. I mean, it's like I love to fish, but I know it might disappoint some people, but I will be at the KBF. I will be at the 10 and the Eco Fishing 250 and the All American Classic. Those are big events.
Yeah.
And so I'll be at those. But in fact, we're still thinking about Caddo because, man, it's such a great place. But
yes,
a lot depends on the getting my teeth done, and the cost of that is astronomical, guys. It's just, you know, I've started fishing budget, but it's just wearing on me, all that stuff. So I just thought, you know what, take a break, refresh, and I've got so much going on around here right now. I need to say no to a few things as well.
So did you lose that during a pickleball tournament? Because I understand.
No, I had like a couple root canals when I was a kid, you know, and those teeth just age out and break off. And so you know, I had 4 implants done in the last 2 years. And anybody out there that knows how much they cost, it's way more than a Hobie PA14.
Oh yes.
And insurance doesn't cover it. So yeah, I'm getting that done so I can eat a pork chop again or a steak.
Oh yes.
You know. So there you go, guys. Sorry about that, but I would not be at Kissimmee. And I know that there's a lot of guys. Yeah, those guys, the good guys, man. I meet so many cool people on these road trips and stuff. And what I'm also doing is fishing the Kansas kayak anglers to see what that's like, because I did one with them. Those guys came up to our expo and had a table and stuff, and pretty cool guys to hang out with. So I'm going to do 3 or 4 of theirs. I'm going to do Joshua Booth is putting on a Legend series where it's paddle only, no sonar. You know, that's my game, you know, and I want to get in that. And then of course the Sticks in Nebraska. I want to fish those events because I love fishing in Nebraska, you know.
Oh yes.
So
so what does your kayak setup look like now compared to when you first started? I mean,
oh man,
what are you in now versus then?
Well, I have a lot of kayaks, but basically 3 that I use, and one is a pond hopper. That's a Hobie Lynx, real basic. In fact, I didn't put any sonar on until this year. I put a little Striker 4 on it so I could record some information on these small ponds, and put that on my kayak fishing intel site for people so they can find, because they're not marked. And a lot of people don't use sonar on their John boat stuff, so this way I'm helping them as well. But it's super light. It's very minimal. And then I have a river kayak that's a Crescent Shoaly, and it's got a Newport on it. No sonar on it, but I want to get the deeper sonar to put on that. But when I'm in a river, I usually don't use a sonar. I just go fish.
Right.
And then my battleship is the Hobie Outback, and it's decked out, but it can be. A lot of times I strip it down, you know, because I use a motor, but I don't like to, you know. I want the physical element of it. And some guys, you know, say, I don't want the physical element, but I do. And it just makes me feel like I accomplished more when I do that, you know. So in fact, David Stricker from Wilder, it's the Freedom Launcher.
Yeah, Freedom Launcher, Wilder Side.
Yeah, Wilder Side. Yeah, he came to my house and he installed it on my kayak, and so it'll be easier on the ramp, you know, because I keep hurting my back and stuff with that, and I have a trailer, you know.
Yeah, I like talking with David. David's an engineer.
Oh yeah.
He's an engineer, of course, but he's got that engineer brain where it's broken down. So he's created quite an amazing product there. Yeah,
it's really cool. But I've got that on there, so it looks like a battleship now. But they're all set up, ready to go. But so yeah, I traded holes out. I have 2 Outbacks, and I traded holes out because the other one had over 900 trips in it, and it was beat up pretty good, had a few cracks, and I welded them. But then I traded, and then I found this one had a crack, you know, in it, because we use it a lot too, but for guiding. So I welded that, and so it's ready to go though. It looks pretty good, and we'll use that a little bit on the bigger stuff. But I use that Lynx a lot because, you know, I'm closing in on 70, and I'm like, man, I gotta got to lighten the load a little bit here. And a lot of my buddies have lynxes that are in the 60s. And we're going to have an old guys league thing this summer. We're going to play bass poker and on weekday morning. And
heck yeah,
that'd be kind of fun. But so yeah, somebody mentioned about a lot of irons and fire. You have no idea.
yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you lost 60 pounds. He lost. Yeah, that's great, man. I did that once. I lost 60 pounds once, man. It's feel a lot better. Yeah, the Outback. Yeah, you can't have a really big person, but I'm 6'2", 215, I guess, and it's probably just right for that. But for me, I have a lot of friends that are a lot smaller. They have them. It's a Swiss Army knife of kayak fishing to me. Yeah. So anyway, there's that. But I wanted to mention a story though about a kid, man.
Yeah, good.
Because guys, a lot of us are doing this, but I see so many guys that have kids at home, but they don't take them. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's true. And so my kids were fortunate that I didn't go to tournaments and take off and leave them there. They went with me wherever I went. In fact, one of my sons, we did a 7-day trip in Nebraska, 1,200 miles in Nebraska, 7 days. And our task was to catch as many species as we could. And we each caught 15. Man, we had a blast. We camped out. It was my 50th birthday. Just had a blast. But a lot of my best memories were with my kids fishing. And we didn't get a lot of pictures. We have a few, but they would help me with everything, and, guiding and everything too, and film and all that. We started that a long time ago, but I don't video so much. People say, why don't you do more of it? I said, because I'm in the moment too much, man. When I'm out there, I live in the moment. And so it's very difficult for me to bring the camera. I have all that stuff. What was I even at? My ADHD is kicking in right now, but
story about the kid.
The kid. Oh yeah, the kids. So, I made this all about kids early on and getting them out. And I found that if I got them doing something that they really liked, they would stay out of trouble. They come to school even. I had two different level clubs. Not really clubs. It was like we just met. I don't, club is it's like a drama word to me sometimes. But as soon as you say club, where's the drama?
We've got vests and patches.
Yeah, yeah, and I get KBF's a club. I mean, it's okay. I get it. But it's also I look at it as an organization, not so much a club.
Yes.
But all the events I run here, I don't have membership fees or anything like that. We just run stuff, man, and it's all free for the kids. But I would have guys donate stuff, which right now I'm looking at 20-something rods and reels guys donated last weekend. Pretty cool for kids this year. And so guys would donate like really high-end stuff, reels and stuff, and I'd have the kids take them apart, put them back together, oil them up and stuff. And then I didn't tell them, but at the end I said, that's yours, because they had skin in the game with it. But I don't just give kids stuff. They got to earn it, through stuff like when we give away these fishing rods, it's not so much the winner. It's I look for guys out there helping another kid. And when they do that, we recognize that when they come back, and that works out pretty good a lot of times. Now, yeah, we'll do the big bass thing sometimes and too, just depends on the day, how we feel, But this one kid, so we had this expo last weekend, right? And his mom emails me. She says, my son wants to have a table at your expo. And I thought, this high school kid, going to come in and bring his baits that he's making and so forth. Well, she goes, I want him to be next to your table. And I said, that's okay. And by the way, I didn't even run my table. I had a mom and a kid running my table. They sold the heck out of stuff there with the Nico heads and all that. But so he's there, he sets up, and it's like this elaborate tape. I mean, I'm like, how did this kid know how to do all this? And then he had these little packages of these little rings. I don't have them here, but they were clips that go on a fishing rod. Maybe I do have them. No, I won't wait till he's. Oh, wait. Yeah, here they are, right here. So here's his company, Creekside Lures, and then he has these little. Look at this. What do you think this is?
Oh, it's a hook keeper.
Yeah. So he made these, and he was selling the heck out of them, man. And I said, how'd you come up with that idea? He goes, I just 3D print them. and sells them for $3 a package, and he's selling them there. But anyway, the next day, it got crowded in there and stuff. And then we have all kinds of contests, but one of them's a lure makers contest.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's some really nice lures turned in at this table, and people vote on their favorite lure. You have these little cups with toothpicks in them, and they put their toothpick in there. It's kind of, it's just, grassroots stuff, And so I go by it, and I noticed this one lure that looked like an ice cube tray in the middle, about yay big, 3 inches maybe. And I'm like, that's kind of unusual. And I go back by again, and it's got all the toothpicks in it, most of them. I'm like, what in the world? I didn't think anything of it, but we got to the awards time, and I went over there and I said, oh, looks like this ice cube tray is going to get a win. And I go to pick it up, and I look at the label, and it said kitchen sink. So think about it. We threw everything but the kitchen sink.
Kitchen sink.
So this kid made this kitchen sink lure with 2 treble hooks on it, and I hold it up to everybody. I brought him up. His name's Oliver. I brought him up. I said, Oliver, it looks like you won. Can you tell us, how did you come up with this idea? He goes, I was just washing my hands in the sink one day and came up with it. And then I go, okay, now tell me honestly, did you steal that from your sister's Barbie set? He goes, no, I 3D printed it. And if it's on my Facebook feed, guys, there's a faucet, there's 2 sinks in it. It's real small. And he did that. You guys don't know how old he is? He's like 10, 5th grader. 5th grader. He's got it down. And so that's what we need to do is support these kids and have events for them. We do this Monday night league where the kids show up. It's all free. They can fish in the bank, boat, or kayak. Doesn't matter. You can pair up with another kid. You can pair up with an adult, but adults can't pair up. And there's AOYs in 3 divisions. And you get a poker chip each week if you win, with your partner. We have a panfish division. We have a bass division. They can do both. And so there's all these kids out there fishing. And we've been doing this for several years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. all free. And then we have a state championship. This year we're trying to get high schools to get like 3 guys each and come out and fish that. Because they do have a competitive side to them, but at the same time, a lot of them, they just want to learn how to do it. And it is so cool to watch, man. And it's all paddles, some pedals, no motors in it, But
that's one thing I've asked a couple of like tournament directors or people that were in tournaments, like what's the plan for getting youth involved? Because I mean, to be honest with you, some of the kids that are coming in and they're using forward facing sonar, they're crushing it on their ability to use these electronics. Right. And I think a lot of the people that don't get the electronics are stifling their growth. They're being the naysayers. So like, how do you incorporate the people that you need to have come in for the young blood for the industry, and I love what you're doing with the tournaments with the youth.
Yeah. We just keep it simple, man. They learn how to fish. They learn how to have instincts. They look around, they're seeing what's around them in nature, they come in, hey, I saw a bird, I saw this, I saw, and they just learn to read water. And I get that. I figured that probably come up some point, the life scope, but I have it. It's just like a show for me.
Yeah.
It's on there I don't hardly ever use it, but it's a resource,
Right.
And
I had it on my kayak. I couldn't figure it out. I'm not a smart man. When it comes to it, I'm like,
I've had success with it, but we don't even, the kids don't even have sonar on their deals. One kid did just get some sonar for his this year, but I've never seen a kid in our leagues use sonar before. They just go out and fish and have a blast, and we have great support for it. A lot of people come and help us. When we do it, so a lot of fun, man. And I think it's the only league in the country that's run like that, to tell you the truth. I've never heard anybody else doing it.
Yeah, I bought so many things at expos where the kid has a little booth. It's like usually it's just like a little table set up with the parents' wares. Yeah. And I bought so many things that I have never needed because I just asked the question like, what is it and why do I need it? And if that kid takes the time to like sell me on it, I got to buy it.
You bet. The president of the Husker Bass Club, they came down. The Husker Bass Club came down.
Mhm.
Logan, he started a bait company. I don't know how long it's been going on, but he just gets all used plastics, remelts them, and he calls it Revived Lures. It's his company. He sells the heck out of them, you know. So I just love to see that their entrepreneur attitude, you know, as they come up through. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm kind of mentally. I think about. I don't know how to say this, but you know, a kid in our community, and I'm like, you know, how did this happen? Why did he feel that way? And why did this happen? Those are the things that I want to help deter, you know, want these kids to feel worthy of themselves, that they don't want to resort to that, you know. And the same with our veterans, you know, with the high rate there, we want to give them something that they can have hope in, you know. And so it really hurts. It hurts my heart to know that happened last week, you know, here in our little town. So
Yeah, you never know what people are going through, and
right.
I always try to be as pleasant as I can be with people. You know,
Mhm.
even my wife would say, sitting at home watching TV, I'm not, but
Yeah.
but out in public, I try to have a certain level of
Mhm.
care and compassion for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah, you meet a lot of people. I mean, what's really cool is like I had a couple guys at, I think it was a show I was at, and they go, "Hey, man, you about 8 years ago, you came up and gave my son a lure because we weren't catching anything, and we still remember that day, and we've been fishing it ever since, you know." And I'm like, "That's my paycheck inside, you know, that to
right.
know you made a difference in somebody's life, that they got enough confidence to fish something that they could catch fish with, you know." That's
Right.
kind of fun to do.
Yeah, I always keep like packs of baits and stuff in the
Yeah.
car.
Oh yeah.
People
Yeah.
we discuss. You get things just show up in the mail all the time.
Yeah.
So if I see some kids out fishing, I'll throw them a bag of baits or something, and
Yeah.
they're just a lot of times they're blown away with the fact that they've got something new.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that little bit of encouragement or boost
Mhm.
versus the signs that say no fishing, when
Right.
they know that the alternative could be so
Right.
much worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a lot of times I just give them a Nico rig, man, and they get after it. It's kind of fun to watch. But I have a bin right here by me that's full of baits that guys donate
Mhm.
all year. Guys will, they win stuff or whatever, and they just, "Here you go, Marty, here's some more." And so what we do is each week, every kid that shows up gets to pick out a pack of baits. They can't look though.
Mm.
And then after they pull it out of the bin, they're allowed to trade. They can trade it with other guys. And the cool thing is a lot of them, the event's over for the night, and they'll be on the shore taking that lure and casting it out. And it's funny because some of them actually catch a fish right away with it. It's the coolest thing you ever seen, you know. So those kinds of things, getting kids involved that way, I think kind of fun, you know.
All right, so let's get into how did you get the nickname Kayakjak?
We don't make up our own nickname. You know that, right?
Mhm.
I was kayak fishing for a few years, and my superintendent was always making fun of me all the time. He called me Kayak. My nickname was Kayak, and so I come through the halls, just in school, and hey Kayak, how's it going today? And I had my kayak on top of my Isuzu Trooper, which I still have. I've had it for 30-something years, and it's camo. The kids camoed it and stuff. Anyway, he always called me Kayak. I'm like, oh, he's never gonna let up, And then one day I was coming down the hall for a meeting, and he said, "Hey, Kayakjak, we're in here. Come on, let's go." And so everybody heard that, and they go, "Jack, where'd that come from?" And he goes, "Well, that's his name." And and nobody knew that I was Jack. That's my first name. I'm a junior, by the way. And my dad called me Marty when I was little. And so everybody heard it, and guess what? They started calling me Kayakjak. And so everywhere I went, like I pull into a gas station, "Oh, there's Kayakjak," and across like state, everywhere. It was like everywhere was kayak, and they would see my trooper that made a lot of noise, camoed, and people wanted to come up and look at it and take pictures of it and stuff. And then I had a farmer one time come up, a rancher. He was in overalls. He comes up, and he just kind of goes, "Hey, Marty, those little plastic boats you got on top, you ever use those? Or are they just for show?" I go, his name was Mickey. I go, "Hey, Mickey, they're going to have a Hot Wheel like that someday. Just wait." Now I have plastic trucks with kayaks on them.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, that's where it came from, man. That's where it came from.
Yeah. Was it like, because that's kind of a really catchy name.
Yeah.
Was it like almost instant you realized it was going to be a brand? Because sometimes you hear something and you're like,
yeah. And okay, so the rest of the story, Paul Harvey's rest of the story. Here we go. So this guy, this is a great story. There's this pastor from Kansas, and he'd always be fly fishing at the lake I fished all the time. He's watching me out there in my kayak, and I'm catching bass left and right, out there in lily pads and stuff. And so he cornered me one day at the lake. He goes, "Hey, Marty, hey, will you take me out?" Because I had a couple kayaks in. This is like 2003 or 4. He goes, "Will you take me out and take me kayak fishing?" I said, "Yeah, man." Nobody would go with me because they were scared they'd tip over. And so I just tell people, sit in your bathtub and try to fall out, or sit on your toilet and try to make yourself fall off. That's a kayak, for most part.
Right.
And I go, "Sure, I'll take it, Chris." And so we meet up and I go out with him fishing. And well, before that though, he goes, "I want you to guide me." I said, "Chris, I'm not a guide. I just like to fish, and I'll show you where I'm going." He goes, "Well, that's guiding." And I go, "Okay, whatever." So we go out there, we fish. He catches all these fish. We took some pictures, and stuff. And then he gets back to shore and he hands me this big wad of money, wad of cash. And he goes, "Here." And I go, "What's that for?" He goes, "Because you guided me today. You need to do this for a business." It was like God from heaven going, "Make this a business, Marty, and help people." And so I said, "Okay." And so I went home. I showed my wife the wad of cash, and here's the exact words she said, and we laugh about it today. But the exact words were, "It's about time." Because I was spending every penny I had on kayak, fall poles and lures and everything. So that's when the guide service was born, and we called it Kayakjak Outfitters. Well, I go back into the office, and I'm talking to my superintendent one day, and I said, "Dallas, we came up with an idea here," because I told him a story about the pastor. I said, "We're going to start this guide service called Kayakjak Outfitters." And he sat back in his chair, and he goes, "Oh, wait a minute. He goes, "Didn't I come up with that name?" And I go, "Yeah, you did." He goes, "Well, any money you make, I get a cut because I came up with the name." So he was just laughing, but it was kind of funny that he wanted to cut out everything because he's the one that came up with the name.
I was going to ask if you have to pay him royalties for it.
Yeah. So he's a good friend of mine too. But no, that's how it all started, man. The Kayakjak thing.
That's awesome. I love how those moments happen that if you weren't like receptive to it, or it's kind of weird. Like I tell people with the magazine, when I first started it, I always have been trying to make something go, and my mom would pray for me. She's like, "Yeah, I want to pray for you," and then it would just like fall on its face. And I started the magazine, and she said, "I would pray for you, but it doesn't go so well." I was like, "Well, you know what? Just do it." And she prayed for me. Yeah. I was in the car right outside. Yeah. And when I walked inside, the phone was ringing with my first sponsor for the magazine. Yeah. Wow. And I was like, there we go.
Prayer works, man. I got to tell you though, you know what I charge? What do you think I charged for a guided trip in 2003?
$2 million. No.
What do you think? Take a guess.
And what year?
2004-ish in there. I don't know the exact date I started, but
150.
150. Okay. Well, I charged $25 a person to guide. And then I would charge $15 if I cooked a meal. But they got like a ribeye steak or a big Dutch oven something, enchiladas or beef stew.
Big old dump cake.
But here's the deal though, man. We get done and then they'd write me a check out a lot of times, and they'd write it out for like 250, whatever, buck and 200. They would give me like 5 times the amount in a tip. They go, "Marty, you don't charge enough." I go, "Guys, it's not about me." I said, "This is paying for my gas to do what I love."
Yeah.
And so I kept it that way. And even today, I charge $150 for the first person. And like I could bring 2 people for $225, which is very, very reasonable.
Yeah, that's really reasonable.
Anyway.
But yeah, I know that what you're providing the experience. I mean,
that's what it is. And remember that back then it wasn't about learning so I could go fish tournaments. It was, I just want to experience this because I heard about it.
Right.
And then they'd want to buy my kayaks right there because there was nowhere to buy them. Right. I had to drive to Denver to get a Jackson Coosa, and that was 4 hours to go get a kayak. And then I remember and then all these expos back then, they would not charge me. They'd ask me to come to their expo just to go speak and lay my kayaks out there. And people would laugh at me. They'd laugh at, what are those things, And really, I got laughed at so much you wouldn't have believed it. Yeah. And so I was the martyr for
yes,
where I lived anyway. But then it started spreading, and when the Game and Parks did there was a reporter for the Nebraska Game and Parks, Eric Fowler, and he said he called every superintendent in the state of all the lakes. And when he called the lake I was at, the superintendent said, there's some wacko down there that goes kayak fishing all the time, because he was looking for a kayak angler. And that was 2003, I think. And so he gets my phone number, calls me up, says, hey, can I come out and do a story? I said, yeah, sure. So he did a photo shoot, a story, and it was in our Nebraska Land magazine, like 7 pages of all this kayak fishing stuff. Well, then people found out about it. Well, then the newspapers, the radio stations, all that started calling. So then I was on these radio shows, and they wanted to find out what it was. And Bass Pros called and said, will you come out and do a seminar? We have kayaks now. This is later on. And they wanted to get involved, and then I ended up being on their team eventually. But it just all started happening, and I didn't, I could have capitalized, and I did sell a few kayaks eventually for emotion, but I didn't really want to. I just wanted to take people fishing. Yeah. And I could have had a kayak shop before there was kayak shops, and decided I just wanted to spend more of my time fishing and taking people to experience that.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've thought about this, like even for myself, like when you start something, you think to yourself, okay, well, if I tried to start what I'm doing now, now it would be so much different and so much harder. Yeah. Do you think that if you were to do what you've accomplished now, would it be easier with all of the technologies out there? Would it be harder? What is your take on that?
Well, I have a lot of guys that want to be guides. They have no idea how hard it is. It's hard work. And you know what? As a teacher, I get what it takes to get someone to learn. I use a quote. I did this today with a person. I said, the relationship, the teacher will appear when the relationship's established. If you don't know how to deal with people, you'll never make it. You got to have a personality. I've seen so many guides fail because they don't have a personality. They want to make money. You're not, guys, unless you are like big time. Like Josh Jones can charge $2,000 a day because he's a phenom. He knows how to find big bass. I only do it because I do charge. In fact, I do a tournament 101 thing for guys to teach them how to do a tournament for $100. But I only do it because I want, I should be compensated a little bit for my time, and it pays for the stuff that I'm going to use, basically. But yeah, it'd be much harder today, I think, because it's easy to experience it. Back then, it wasn't easy to experience it. It was a niche. I had what nobody else had. Nobody had the kayaks. I did not see another kayak angler for 6 years after I started. Never saw one. Wow. And the first kayak I saw was a Hobie, a pedal drive Hobie. It was the first one I saw. And by the way, I had a lot of companies. I only went with one. That was a Motion, and it was owned by was it Tom Strauss, and he sold it to Lifetime, and Lifetime kept me on, but at that point, I didn't really want to be. I didn't want to be with a company. So I've had a lot of companies say, "Hey, you want to be on our team?" I didn't want to do that because I'd be locked in. It's because Motion said, "We don't care what kind of kayak you're in, just show them ours if you can." But now, if you're on the Old Town team or if you're on the Hobie team, that's all you can be in. Right. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't take an offer for that, but I'm just saying that I want to be able to reach all levels of people and say, hey, I have this kayak, which one do you want to use? Well, I want to try the Hobie, or I want to try the Hoodoo, or I want to try the Jackson. I've got all those, and they can choose what they want to do, and of course I have companies give me discounts, which is nice, but I don't want to be locked in, on that. So
yeah, I think as a journalist for yourself too, if you're beholden to a company, it takes, because I have a product that was sent to me, and they sent me an agreement
Yeah.
And in the agreement said you cannot use or talk about any other. And I sent it back to him. I said,
Yeah.
I cannot do that. I mean, if it's presented to me and I want to write about it, I have to. And they took it out of the contract or out of the agreement.
Yeah.
You know, I was like affiliate program or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but
I have companies that way that they are exclusive, but they say, Marty, we just appreciate you getting our product out there. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
it's been my experience that if you're honest with them about where you're coming from,
yeah.
you know, like I think some people want to have that ability to,
Mhm.
I don't want to say trash, but they talk trash about a lot of things and they don't want to, you know, be contractually held that they can't talk, you know? So, but my sole purpose was for, just a lot of things roll across my desk, just like you.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Every day. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, packages come in almost every day of stuff. And I'm appreciative of it and grateful for it. And I try them out for them. But I'm not so much interested in like, I have actual sponsors. People say, well, people have discounts. I have actual sponsors that actually pay a check.
Yes.
But they still say, hey, you do what you got to do, which I really appreciate, you know?
Yeah.
And
I think that comes with the integrity that you've built over the years too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because it's hard for someone out of the gate that doesn't know you to give you free reign. I mean, you've built a track record. So
and that's the thing with the KBF, working with them, building trust, because everybody knows it was going downhill for a while, and Chad built a team, and now it's thriving. And we started a greenhorn series for guys that are beginning. My challenge that I do, the 2026 challenge, 2020. I just did 2025. We've got
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, we have 186 anglers in that right now.
Did anyone catch 2,025 bass last year? I did the math on it. I was like, dude, I would never. I could never catch that many in a year.
Let me tell you the story on that, though.
Even with a cast net.
Yep. I caught 2,300. Well, I recorded 2,355, but I caught way more than that last year. The only other guy was Clayton Westgate from Gardner, Kansas. He caught 2,100 and something. And we get the kayak cushions are actually in my kayak right now, but you get a kayak cushion from Brandon Elrod, who's been sponsoring this for 3 years now, actually 4th year now. And then this year we have a drawing for a kayak, a new canoe kayak that I actually won, but I donated it for the tournament. And then SUP, Sea Eagle SUP, and then we have Trash Panda donating some stuff, gift cards, in a drawing. You got to be a KBF member for that, and then lifetime membership. So there's quite a bit you can win there, and it keeps people motivated. But here's the deal: 2013, my best friend came out. He's a basketball coach. He's actually a coach in this town where I'm at. He coached my son. And they won. My son won 2 state titles with him as a coach. And they won 3 in a row, and they've been in the state finals 6 years in a row. But anyway, he's a great coach. He came out, did a talk at our athletic banquet, and he talked about setting outrageous goals or audacious goals. And so my kids went home that night, and they go, Dad, we want to set a goal. And so we sat down. I said, okay, CJ, what do you want to do? CJ goes, I'm going to make 75,000 shots this summer, 12 weeks. He was a 5th grader. And my other son, Christian, was going to be a senior. And he said, Dad, I'm going to run 450 miles over the summer. I said, okay. And they said, what's your goal going to be? And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to catch the year in fish, 2013 fish or 14. I think one of those 2 years. And so my running son made it. CJ won the state super shooters in grade 6 and ends up. And when he won it in the gym where he would eventually play for state championships. Wow. It's phenomenal how that all handed out. Anyway, I failed. And it was a good lesson for them to see somebody, fail at it too. But I encouraged, they kept charts and everything. And I kept a chart. And then the next year I tried it again, and they set their own goals separate than that. But I tried it again and I failed again. And so I said, okay, I got to figure this out, how I'm going to do this. And the 3rd year I made it. And so now I've made it 11 out of 14 or 12 out of 15 years, I think it is now. I've made it. Something like that. I don't know. It's something like that. Anyway, I got a chart that I made. But 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, it was getting too easy to catch them. So I thought, I'm just going to go strictly bass. And then Dwayne Wally reached out to me. He says, "Hey, Marty, just make it a national deal." And so he says, "I'll run it," because I didn't want people to think I wanted to see that when they were fishing, So I said,
Right.
"You run it. I don't want nothing to do with it, but you run it." Well, we didn't even judge them. We just let guys interfish. We had 245 guys the first year, and we did not charge anything. The second year he charged like $5, and then this last year $650, of course. But I made it in 2023, 24, 25, and now I'm on 26. And a lot of guys say it's impossible, whatever, but it's not. I don't start till March, basically, and I was done by end of September this past year. But it's hard. It's a grind, and you got to measure every fish. But what it did is it gave me practice measuring, for tournaments, especially. I can get it done in 8 seconds. Measure a fish, photograph it, and it's done. It's gone, unless you got to do the release and all that stuff with the video. But anyway, it's quite the challenge. We have 189 right now for 10, and it's $10. But the $10, Joshua Booth is our judge, so he's judging all of it, and it's no minimum, and you can catch them anywhere, anytime, boat, bank, private, public. We don't care.
Wow.
And it's to inspire people to go after something and use daily repeated efforts to achieve it. So that's what I'm about. I'm about like daily repeated efforts, even when I ran and stuff, just daily. You just got to repeat those habits, the good habits to make yourself better and continue to learn. So that's our deal there. And then, of course, Chad has the unlimited on the KPF, and that's kind of fun too. And and then some guys treat it as a tournament. Oh, I'm in 9th place. I'm in 10th place, whatever. That's okay. They can do that. But there's no trophies for first.
Right.
So there you go.
We're ticking on the end here, but I want to ask you with the KBF. I saw the post for like the nowhere, no share.
Yeah.
You guys have reached what, 100 pledges, I believe it is?
No.
1,000?
700 overnight.
700, sorry.
Yeah. It was 100 yesterday, then it reached 700 today.
Yeah.
It's probably way higher than that now.
Yeah, I find that to be it's almost like a no-brainer type of situation, but there's a lot of kickback from certain people. So I just don't understand that. I will say that watching people on the sidelines, not knowing if their loved one is going to make it home, and the timeline between the incident and the recovery, is very hard on the families.
Oh yeah.
So
and I've had 4 saves, and they would not be alive today if I wouldn't have been in that certain place or certain time. And I look back. In fact, one of them, I was doing an actual safety deal on shore that day, or a little clinic with the kayaks, and actually happened to look out past the ramp, and there was just a head bobbing on one side of a kayak in 44-degree water, and he was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. And we got him saved. He saved it. He wouldn't have made it if no one would have saw him,
Yeah.
But that's just one of them. And anyway, there might be kickback, but here's the deal: that there's so many things you can say about not wearing a PFD and wearing a PFD.
Yes.
But anything can happen, and at any time. And I have never fallen out of a kayak yet, who knows? But I do know. In fact, I came across a post today of a young man several years ago that he was fishing with us, and we told him, "Hey man, you got to get a PFD." And so he bought one. The following year, he capsized in cold water, and he told everybody, "I would not be here right now if Marty and this other guy wouldn't have told me to get a life jacket." So there's those kind of saves as well. And when you go in cold water, you're going to be in shock, and or I've heard of guys hitting their head with a weight and knocking them back in shallow water and dying. This is back a long time ago, but they hit and they leaned and then they fell back and it went unconscious and they just drowned, in a foot of water.
Yeah.
And so you don't know. So we're on, and by the way, I got to be the first one to take the test, the safety test or whatever they do. And somebody's saying hi. And it took me over a little over 2 hours, and it cost $25.
Hmm.
And I have nothing against the ACA, but I don't have a week to go spend a lot of money and staying somewhere and then taking that course. Nothing against it. It's a good course. But what we're trying to do is have a graduate, and by the way, I'm not in charge of it. Wendell and
Right.
Hoover, but I'm going to help support it.
Right.
But they have levels that you can go to, and then you can actually teach it. And then I've actually written a kayak fishing curriculum that our state's going to use, and the local college is going to use it as well here for teaching lessons, because our state now has a kayak cart that you can not rent, but you get it for free. But you have to be certified for as a fishing instructor or whatever. And so
Right.
this curriculum is going to help with that. But the safety, man, you got to have safety first. Safety belt in the car. We may never ever have a deal where we have a head on or something like that, but you still click it.
Right.
And there's different levels of PFD and all that. And I'm going to tell you right now, a waist belt is not a PFD, guys. I don't care. It's not.
Yeah.
If you fall back in the water, that waist belt is going to float your body, but it's not going to float your upper part. And so you guys can fight me all you want on that, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's not. It's part approved, but it's not something that I would do in a kayak.
Right.
And I see a lot of paddleboarders doing that too. So
I just see a lot of people who are opposed, and I just cannot comprehend that.
Yeah.
I'm a big guy, and I have, if I'm fishing shallow, I've got my Mustang inflatable.
Yeah.
Something where I think I can stand up, but don't need a lot of support. If I'm doing open water, I've got a full-on vest.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but they're both super comfortable because they're made for kayaking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and
there
was a deal today. A young kid here that fishes, he asked, which is better, a inflatable or a vest? And what I did is I wrote up a script of what is good about the inflatable, what is good about the vest, and then the advantages of each.
Right.
Disadvantages of each. You can make your educated decision on that. For me, it's a vest because of certain particular things. But I've seen and heard of stories with the vest or with the inflatable where the guy forgot to put the cartridge in, or didn't deploy, or it had a hole in it, things like that, and so that's why I've always worn a vest, and I love my vest. I have a Salis vest, and I just love it. And they're not cheap, but that's because they save your life.
Right.
So
yes,
anyway.
This is McGinnis Game and Tackle says can't wait to be on the show. He must be the gentleman.
He's the guy that's gonna do the tackle shop opening, man.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
He found you.
He found me. Yeah. And then
Trevor Wagner's the best guy all the way.
Yeah, Steve from Texas. Yeah. He's always on the whole time. But so yeah, anyway, that's a controversial topic. But here's the deal. I really believe this, that like I said earlier to you before we went on live, only 10% of the population does tournaments in kayak fishing. 90% don't even give a rat's butt about fishing a tournament. They just want to go out and have fun and catch fish. But
I'd much rather have somebody upset with me and living.
Yeah.
Than,
yeah. Right. And the other thing is, like, when I guide, if you unbutton your life jacket out there, we're done. We're done. And I just say, we're done, guys. And I went ahead to do it once, but that's just the way I am. You're just not going to fish with me like that. And the other thing is, people will, hey, will you take a picture of me? I said, yeah, if you put your life jacket on. Because I said, that's on me if I take this picture and you give me credit, and I'm taking a picture of a guy not wearing a life jacket and I'm promoting it. Oh, well, I get it. Okay. And they put it on, So it's a way to do it that way as well. But the no share thing, I think, is a great idea, I think. And I just think that we gotta put safety first when we're out there, because it is dangerous. It's dangerous as heck to be out there. But you're just, it's like being on top of a tall building, except you're in water.
Right. And I live in a Navy community here in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of strong swimmers roll their kayak in the current, and they find them miles away.
Yeah.
Like you can't,
You're right.
you never know what's going to happen. So just
Right.
Just be safe.
Yeah. Wear it. We'll share it.
Yes. We're just a little past the 1 hour mark. Is there anything you want to say, shout out?
I don't know. I just want to thank you, man, Roy, reaching out and having me on here. I love your magazine. You do some great stories in there. The one with the women was really good because I think they deserve a little attention, in the kayak fishing world. And I've met a lot of great gals. In fact, Christine, she's from here, Christine Fisher, as well. That's part of the women's kayak fishing and stuff. But I love how you can click those pages, man. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something.
Yeah, I'm glad you can click those pages because I was actually hosted on a site, and they tripled the amount that they were going to charge me to host it. Yeah. So I thought to myself, like we were talking about DIY before we started. Yeah. I was like, well, do I find someone else, or I just create my own pages and host it myself?
There you go.
So I just created my own pages. So now it's all in-house.
So you guys go to that magazine. It's the USA Kayak Fishing USA magazine. And that's a good one. And then, you have a lot of interesting people on here. I encourage you guys to follow the show. And then I look forward to the season, man, this year again. I'm just so grateful that I get to go fish again. And then meet some more people. I meet somebody every day, that's never done it or whatever. And the
you could shout out your podcast as well as, I mean, I love chiming in on yours.
Yeah. Yeah, we just tell stories, man, like this.
Yep. Tell stories. I like it. That's why I picked that topic, because when I watch your podcast, it's like a little bit of topic and a whole lot of stories.
Yeah.
I love the stories aspect of it. So
that's what people like to hear. They want to hear stories, and there's a lot more I could have told tonight, but we got time here.
Yeah.
Time deal. The other thing is, man, there's a lot of podcasts, and I'm thinking about doing a list of them as well on my Intel page where people can pick and choose what they want to do and go there, because when I'm making lures here in my basement, I like to listen to podcasts, or when driving down the road, I'd rather listen to a podcast, just to hear what people are saying. Like we were talking before we came on, you get one little nugget out of each thing. It's a pretty good day,
Oh yes.
So, but anyway, my goal is to catch 2026 bass, and this year we'll see how that goes,
You'll do it. You got to figure it out. You'll do it. So I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate all you have done and continue to do. I will continue to watch your show because it's an amazing experience, and I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast. I've enjoyed chatting with you. So once again, thank you very much.
Absolutely, Roy. Thank you guys, everybody being on here.
All right. I'm going to put you in the background, say goodbye to everybody, and I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, everyone. I really appreciate you hanging out. That was episode 56 with Kayakjak. Go check out him and everything he's got going on. Just reading the list of his accomplishments and everything that he's doing is going to make you tired, but still go there. So, again, this episode is brought to you by Snake River Manufacturing. Go to snakerivermanufacturing.us and check out all of the kayak trailers that Steve and the crew are putting together. They also have awesome accessories that can make your other brands elevate. So you get some of their cool innovations and put them on what you already have if you can't afford one of their trailers. It's also brought to you by Viking Kayaks USA. Go check them out. They have some great paddlecraft to get you out into the water in style. So go check them out. Also, kayakcoffee.com has given us a code CAFE20 for 20% off of your entire order. So go to kayakcoffee.com and get yourself some beautiful whole bean coffee, which is what keeps me going in the morning. So go check them out. Again, thank you all for joining me. This has been episode 56 with Kayakjak, and I look forward to seeing you next week.